The night sky of Varelia was filled with strange, swirling lights. The twin moons cast pale silver shadows over the broken landscape. Fires burned in the distance, and the air smelled of smoke and metal. Ethan Cole ran across the ruined ground, his boots kicking up dust and small stones. He had been sent with his team to protect a human outpost on the edge of the planet, but now the place was under attack. Alien soldiers, taller and faster than humans, had stormed their position. The sounds of gunfire and screaming echoed across the valley. Ethan felt a sharp pain in his side as something grazed him. He stumbled but kept running. Around him, humans were falling one by one. He saw his friends fall, and he knew he had no time to stop. He had only one thought in his mind: survive and help anyone he could. He heard a small sound behind a pile of rubble. It was faint, almost like a soft cry. Ethan paused and looked. A shadow moved. He crawled toward it carefully. Beneath the broken stones, he found a small figure, pale and trembling. She was not human. Her skin had a faint glow, her eyes were wide and dark, and her hair shimmered with silver light. She was young, maybe no older than 20 in human years. Her clothes were torn, and blood streaked her arm. "Are you hurt?" Ethan asked, his voice low. She looked at him with wide, frightened eyes. She did not speak. She only shook slightly. Ethan realized she was too weak to answer. He saw a deep cut on her shoulder, and her breathing was quick and shallow. "I'll help you," he said. He carefully lifted her in his arms. Her body felt light, but her fear was heavy. He could hear the sounds of battle getting closer. The aliens were still around, searching, killing, burning. Ethan ran toward the only cover he could see, a small crater with the remains of broken walls. He dropped her gently behind a large slab of metal. She coughed softly, and he saw more blood on her lips. He reached for his medkit. His hand shook, but he forced himself to focus. He cleaned the wound as best he could with what he had. "You'll be okay," he whispered. "I'm not going to let anything happen to you." She blinked at him, her eyes full of something he could not read. Fear, confusion, gratitude? He could not tell. She did not speak. She only clung slightly to his arm as he wrapped a bandage around her shoulder. Ethan heard footsteps behind him. He turned quickly, firing his rifle at a shadow moving in the smoke. The alien soldier fell, but another one took its place. Ethan felt a sharp pain in his leg. He gritted his teeth. He could not leave her. He would not leave her. "Come on," he said. "We have to move." He lifted her carefully again, feeling her faint pulse against his chest. She did not resist. Her body was too weak. Ethan ran across the open ground, ducking behind stones and fallen debris. Bullets whizzed past him. One hit the wall near his head and sent a shower of sparks into the air. He remembered his orders: retreat if the outpost is lost. But he could not leave her. Not when she was helpless. Not when she was alive because he had found her. They reached a small cave at the edge of the battlefield. Ethan set her down gently and checked her again. Her eyes fluttered, and she looked at him with a strange expression. She tried to speak, but no sound came out. He realized her throat might have been hurt. He tore a piece of cloth from his shirt and pressed it to the side of her head. Blood soaked through quickly. Ethan winced. He could feel his own strength fading. He had been wounded multiple times, but he ignored it. His focus was only on keeping her alive. The sounds of the battle began to fade. The aliens were moving on, leaving chaos behind. Ethan knew he could not stay in the cave long. They had to find real help, but he was weak. His side burned with pain, and his vision blurred. He set her on the ground and tried to stand, but his knees buckled. He gritted his teeth and forced himself up. He could not let her die while he had the strength to carry her. He thought of the humans back on Earth, the people who had trained him, the friends who had fallen. He thought of the soldiers he had promised to protect. But right now, the only promise he could keep was to this fragile alien girl. He carried her out of the cave into the open desert. The twin moons reflected off the broken metal around them. The wind whipped across their faces. Ethan stumbled, falling twice, but he forced himself to stand again. Each step was agony. His body screamed, but he refused to stop. The girl's eyes followed him. She looked at him with a mixture of fear and trust. She could not speak, but Ethan felt a bond forming. He realized she was not just a child or a prisoner. She was someone important. He had heard rumors about the Princess of Varelia, the heir to the alien throne. Could it be her? Could she be the one they were all talking about? Ethan did not have time to wonder. He needed to get her to safety. He found a small river, its waters glowing faintly in the moonlight. He laid her down gently near the riverbank. He knelt beside her, trying to stop the bleeding as best he could. His own blood ran down his side. Each movement sent pain through his body. He pressed the cloth to her wound again and murmured, "You'll live. You have to live." The girl's eyes closed for a moment, and Ethan thought she was slipping away. Panic rose in his chest. He pressed harder, willing her to breathe. Then, slowly, she gasped and opened her eyes. Relief flooded him. She was alive. Good. Good, he whispered. Just hold on a little longer. The night stretched on. Ethan stayed by her side, ignoring his own injuries. He talked to her quietly, telling her about Earth, about humans, about why he had come to Varelia. She listened with her wide eyes, nodding faintly when she could. She could not speak, but her expressions told him more than words ever could. By dawn, Ethan's strength was almost gone. He had lost too much blood, and his movements were slow. But the girl was still alive. Her breathing steadied, and she blinked at him with the first faint smile he had seen from her. He knew he had done the right thing. He had saved her life. As the first light of the twin suns rose over the horizon, Ethan felt a presence nearby. The alien forces had moved on, but other figures approached humans from a nearby patrol who had survived. They saw Ethan and the girl and rushed to help. They carried him and the girl back to their base. Ethan collapsed on the soft ground of the human outpost, too weak to move. But when he opened his eyes, he saw her safe in a cot nearby. She looked at him, and for a moment, he could see understanding in her eyes. She had survived because he had risked everything. He tried to speak, but his throat was dry. He whispered, "You're safe now." The girl reached out a trembling hand and touched his cheek. He smiled weakly, feeling a warmth in his chest despite the pain. She had no words, but her touch said everything. Gratitude, trust, and something deeper that he could not name. Ethan knew then that his life had changed. He was not just a soldier anymore. He had crossed a line between worlds. He had saved a princess of another species, and nothing would ever be the same. The humans around them worked quickly, stabilizing both of them. Ethan's wounds were tended to, and the girl was placed under careful watch. She remained quiet, watching him with her big eyes. Ethan tried to rest, but sleep was impossible. He thought about the battle, the destruction, and the fragile life he had saved. He realized something very important. He had acted without thinking of glory or reward. He had acted because it was the right thing to do. And in that moment, he understood what it meant to be human, not just to fight, not just to survive, but to protect life, even when it is not your own. The girl's breathing grew steady, and Ethan finally allowed himself to close his eyes for a moment. The weight of his wounds pressed heavily on him, but he felt satisfaction. He had bled for her, and she had lived. Somehow, that made the pain bearable. Outside the walls of the outpost, the world of Varelia stretched endlessly, broken and dangerous. But inside, in the quiet room where a human soldier and an alien princess lay, a new story was beginning. One of trust, of courage, and of a bond that could change the future of two worlds. Ethan Cole had risked everything. He had bled, he had fought, and he had saved her. And the girl, though silent, had already begun to mark his life forever. As dawn broke fully, the pale light shone on their faces. The battle was over, but their journey had just begun. Ethan knew it, and somehow, the princess seemed to know it too. The world outside was dangerous, but together, they had survived. Together, they had hope. Ethan woke slowly. The soft light of the human medical bay warmed his face. His wounds were bandaged, and the pain had eased, but his body still felt weak. He tried to sit up, and a nurse quickly pressed a hand to his shoulder. "Don't move too fast," she said gently. You lost a lot of blood. Ethan nodded. His mind was not on himself. He thought of the girl, the alien princess. Where was she now? Was she safe? He had risked everything to save her. That thought made him smile faintly. A doctor approached. You're lucky, the man said. Most humans don't survive those wounds. You were brave. Your actions saved a life today. Ethan's hand went to his side. I didn't do it for praise. He said quietly, I did it because she needed help. The doctor looked at him with respect. Few humans would do what you did. You are a hero, even if you don't want to hear it. Ethan said nothing. Words felt small compared to what he had done. Later, he was moved to a quieter room to rest. He closed his eyes, thinking about the events of the night. The princess had been so small, so fragile, yet there had been strength in her. Something in her eyes told him she was not just a child. She was important, very important. A few hours later, a small ship arrived to take him and the princess back to the alien capital. Ethan's curiosity rose. He had seen only the battlefield and the outpost. He wanted to know what kind of world she came from. The ship landed in a wide plaza of shining metal towers and bright lights. Ethan stepped out carefully, still weak from his wounds. The princess was carried gently by the alien guards, wrapped in a soft blanket. She had regained some color, and she looked around cautiously. Ethan followed behind. He noticed the people staring at him, not with fear, but with surprise. Humans were not common on this world, and he had saved the princess. He felt the weight of their eyes, and a small flicker of pride rose in his chest. They reached a large palace. Its walls were tall and smooth, shining in the light of the twin suns. Ethan had never seen anything like it. The air smelled different here, fresh, clean, and faintly sweet. The princess's steps were small but steady as she was led inside. The guards took him to a waiting room. Soon, the queen arrived. She was tall and regal, her eyes shining with a strange light. Her hair shimmered like silver, and her voice had a tone that made everyone quiet. You are the human soldier who saved my daughter, she said. Her voice was calm but strong. Stand. Ethan rose slowly, bowing slightly. He had faced many commanders, but none like her. There was power in her presence, respect, yes, but also caution. I'm Ethan Cole, ma'am, he said. I only did what was right. She would have died if I had left her. The queen studied him carefully. And yet you came from a world that fought against mine. You are human, and you risked your life for her. Ethan nodded. She is alive now. That is all that matters. The queen's eyes softened slightly. She walked around him slowly, observing. Few humans are brave enough for such action. Few would risk themselves for someone not their own. Ethan looked down at his hands. I am not a hero. I just did what I had to do. She nodded, then motioned to a guard. Bring her here. The princess stepped forward, her silver hair glinting in the light. She looked at Ethan for a moment, her dark eyes searching his face. She did not speak. She only reached out her hand slightly, a gesture of trust and thanks. The queen's gaze softened even more. She is alive because of you, the queen said. You have crossed the line between our worlds, human. You have done what many could not. You will stay here under my protection. Ethan hesitated. I did not come here to stay. I just want to see her safe. The queen shook her head. You will remain in my city. You have bled for her, and that cannot be ignored. You have changed something, human. You have earned the attention of this court. You will stay until I decide otherwise. Ethan swallowed. He had thought his mission was simple, survive and protect the princess. Now he realized the consequences were far greater. He was in the heart of an alien kingdom, and every move he made would be watched. The princess tugged lightly on her mother's robe. As if to speak for him, the queen looked down at her daughter. She is right. He is not your enemy. Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. Even though he was a stranger here, even though he was weak and wounded, he felt respected. Somehow, this alien queen understood what he had done. The next days were strange for Ethan. He was allowed to rest in the palace, but under careful observation. Guards watched him, and servants brought him food. The princess visited often. She did not speak. but she looked at him with an expression that made him feel understood. Sometimes, she would bring small gifts, shards of glowing crystal, strange flowers that smelled sweet, or small drawings she had made. Ethan would smile, showing her the little things from Earth. He carried a small knife, a coin, or a tiny book. They shared moments of quiet understanding. They did not need words to communicate. He knew she was thankful, and she could sense that he cared. Slowly, a bond formed between them, one that did not depend on their species. But not everyone in the palace welcomed him. Some of the advisors whispered among themselves. "A human here is dangerous," one said. "He may have intentions we cannot see." Another replied, "He bled for her. That alone changes everything. The queen will not let him go easily." Ethan overheard some of it, but he did not respond. He focused only on the princess and her safety. That was all that mattered. One day, the queen summoned him again. She led him to a wide balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons hung low in the sky, casting silver light over the towers. "You have done what no human could have done," the queen said. "You risked your life for her, and you acted without thought of reward. That is rare. That is valuable." Ethan looked at her. "I did it because it was right. I would do it again. I could not leave her there. I could not let her die alone." The queen's eyes softened. "That is why you cannot leave yet. You have changed more than one life, human. You have changed the future of this kingdom, and I cannot allow you to vanish." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and worry. He did not want to be a prisoner, but he understood the queen's words. His actions had consequences far beyond the battlefield. He had crossed a line between worlds, and there was no turning back. The princess appeared behind the queen. She reached out and took Ethan's hand. He held it gently. She smiled faintly, a small gesture of trust and friendship. Ethan realized then that he had not only saved her life, but he had begun something new. A bridge between humans and Varelians, a bond that could grow stronger over time. The queen watched them carefully, then nodded. "For now, you will stay. You will be under my watch. But know this, you are no longer just a soldier. You are part of something larger, something important." Ethan nodded quietly. He did not argue. He understood. He had been changed by the events of the last night. He had bled for her, and now he was part of her world. Days turned into weeks. Ethan began to understand more about Varelia, the culture, the people, the strange beauty of the world. He learned their language better, watched their customs, and slowly, the palace became a place he could walk through without fear. The princess visited daily. Sometimes she would bring him a small meal, or sit quietly while he told her stories of Earth. She laughed softly at some of the stories, her voice faint but musical. Ethan felt something he had never felt before, a deep connection to someone entirely different from himself. Yet, he never forgot the queen's words. He was here under her watch, and he could not leave until she allowed it. That truth weighed heavily on him. He longed to go home, but he understood that his presence here was now part of a larger story. One he had begun with his courage, his pain, and his choice to save her. At night, he would look out over the city from his small room. The twin moons cast light across the towers, and he thought about the battlefield, about the princess, and about what he had done. He had risked everything for one life, and that life had changed everything. He did not know what would happen next. He only knew that he had made a choice, and the consequences were only beginning. The princess had survived, and he had survived too. But their journey together was only just starting, and somewhere deep in the palace, the queen watched them, thinking about the human soldier who had bled for her daughter. She could not let him go, not yet, not until she understood everything his presence might mean for her daughter, her kingdom, and the fragile peace between their worlds. Ethan Cole had crossed the line between two worlds. He had acted without thinking of reward, and now he was caught in a place of honor, danger, and curiosity. His courage had saved the princess, and in doing so, he had begun a story that neither humans nor Varelians could forget. And the princess, small and fragile but brave, had found in him a protector and a friend. Together, they waited. Days passed slowly in the palace. Ethan Cole moved carefully through the long halls of shining crystal and metal. The floors reflected the light of the twin suns outside, and strange colors danced across the walls. Everything in the palace was unfamiliar. The people, the customs, the sounds, they all reminded him that he was far from home. Yet, he no longer felt completely like a stranger. The princess, Lyra, visited him every day. She brought small gifts, flowers that glowed faintly in the dark, stones that hummed softly, and sometimes she drew pictures of her city and her world. Ethan would show her little things from Earth, like small trinkets he had carried or a simple coin. Though she could not speak much in human language, her eyes told him more than words ever could. One morning, Ethan woke to find Lyra sitting beside his bed. She held a small bowl of sweet fruit. "For you," she said in her soft, broken human words. "Thank you," Ethan said, smiling. "You did not have to do this." "I want to," she replied, smiling faintly. "You saved me. You are friend." Ethan felt warmth rise in his chest. Friend, that word, coming from her, meant more than he could explain. He wanted to tell her it was nothing, that he only did what he had to do. But he realized it mattered to her, and that was enough. Life in the palace settled into a routine. Ethan trained lightly to keep his strength. Though the queen insisted he rest, he observed the palace guards, the way they moved, the way they spoke, and slowly began to understand the customs. He learned the alien language better and started to converse more easily with Lyra. Yet, not everyone welcomed him. Some advisors and nobles whispered in the shadows. "A human in the palace is dangerous," one said quietly. "He may be loyal, but loyalty can change." "He is not like us. He bled for her," another replied. "That is a rare thing. The queen trusts him. For now, he stays." Ethan overheard bits of these conversations. He did not respond, but he knew that his presence caused unease. He could feel the tension. Some looked at him with suspicion, others with admiration, and a few with envy. One day, during a palace ceremony, Lyra was present with him. She wore a gown of silver that shimmered in the sunlight. Her mother, Queen Suralis, sat at the head of the hall, regal and watchful. The advisors whispered again, and Ethan felt their eyes on him. Suddenly, there was a commotion. One of the nobles stumbled forward, a strange vial in hand. Lyra's hand went to her chest as she coughed violently. Ethan reacted immediately. He grabbed the vial and threw it to the floor. Broken glass and liquid spilled across the marble, but the danger was not gone. Lyra's lips were blue, and she struggled to breathe. Ethan's heart pounded. He pressed a hand to her chest, trying to calm her. He shouted for the palace healers, his voice echoing across the hall. They rushed to her side, using alien medicine to stabilize her. Ethan stayed close, holding her hand, feeling helpless and worried. When she finally breathed steadily again, she looked at him with wide eyes. "You saved me again," she whispered. "You are safe," Ethan said, his voice firm. "I am here. Nothing will happen to you while I am near." Queen Suralis rose from her throne. Her eyes were sharp, and her voice was steady but heavy with emotion. "Human, you have proven yourself more than once. You act without fear. You act without thought for yourself. You are remarkable." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and unease. He did not want praise. He only wanted Lyra to be safe. Yet, the queen's words carried weight. He understood that she respected his courage, even if it made others in the palace uneasy. The next days were tense. Guards watched the corridors closely. The advisors debated in low voices about what to do with him. Some argued that humans should not be allowed such closeness to the princess. Others said his bravery and loyalty could not be ignored. Ethan did not interfere. He continued to spend time with Lyra, teaching her small lessons about Earth, talking quietly, and sharing stories. She listened with fascination, sometimes laughing softly at the oddness of human life. One evening, they walked along the palace gardens. The air was filled with sweet scents from alien flowers, and the twin moons reflected on the pools of water. "Ethan," Lyra said quietly, "why did you help me? You could have left me." Ethan stopped and looked at her. Her eyes were full of curiosity and trust. He felt the weight of her question. "I could not leave you," he said simply. "You were hurt. You were alone. I could not let you die while I could help." Lyra nodded slowly. "You are different from humans I have heard of," she said. "They do not always care for others. But you care." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. "I did not want anything for it," he said. "I only did what was right." They walked in silence for a while, the sound of their footsteps on the stones echoing in the night. For the first time, Ethan felt at home in the palace, not because of the walls or the lights, but because of the presence of someone who trusted him completely. Yet, danger still lingered. The political factions in the palace grew restless. Whispers became plots, and jealousy grew. Some nobles were unhappy that a human could earn favor with the queen and the princess. They began to look for ways to discredit him. One day, a young advisor approached Ethan while he was in the training hall. "You are a soldier," the advisor said. "You know how to fight. But do you understand our world? Do you understand the danger of your presence here?" Ethan looked at him steadily. "I do not wish to cause trouble," he said. "I only wish to help the princess and see her safe. That is all." The advisor nodded slowly. "Even so, not all here see things your way. You must be careful." Ethan thanked him but did not ask further. He knew the truth. He had entered a world not his own, and his actions would always be watched. Weeks passed, and Ethan continued to learn the ways of the palace. He trained with the guards, studied the alien language, and observed the politics quietly. He did not seek attention, but it came to him anyway. Lyra continued to spend time with him. Sometimes they walked the gardens, sometimes they studied together, and sometimes they simply sat in silence, sharing quiet moments. Ethan realized that she had begun to trust him more than anyone else. One night, while the palace slept, Ethan heard a soft noise outside his room. He went to the window and saw a small figure moving in the shadows. It was Lyra. "Ethan," she whispered, "come with me." He followed quietly as she led him through secret corridors. They emerged in a hidden courtyard filled with glowing plants. Lyra looked at him seriously. "I want you to see something," she said. She pointed to a small pool. The water shimmered, reflecting their faces. "This is where I come when I feel afraid or alone. It helps me think." Ethan nodded. "It is beautiful," he said. "I can see why you like it." They sat together, watching the water ripple. Ethan felt peace here. Away from politics and danger, he could see the princess as she truly was: brave, gentle, and kind. Suddenly, a sound came from the palace gates. Guards shouted. Ethan rose immediately. Lyra looked at him, worried. "Stay here," he said. He moved toward the sound, his instincts sharp. The noise turned out to be a small group of outsiders trying to sneak into the palace. Ethan and the guards stopped them quickly. When he returned, Lyra was pale but smiling. "You saved me again," she said softly. Ethan shook his head. "I saved the palace," he said, "and you are part of it. That is why I will always be ready to protect you." She reached out and held his hand. Ethan held it gently. He felt a bond growing stronger, one that could not be broken easily. As the days continued, Ethan understood that his role in the palace was not only to protect Lyra physically, but also to navigate the complex politics around them. He could see envy, suspicion, and loyalty all mixing in dangerous ways, yet he also saw hope. The princess was alive, learning, and growing stronger, and she trusted him. That was enough for Ethan. He knew he had found a purpose beyond survival. He had found a reason to be brave, not for himself, but for someone else. And deep in the palace, the queen watched him carefully. She saw the bond between the human and her daughter, and she knew that he was no ordinary soldier. He had changed something in her world, something that could not be undone. Ethan Cole had become more than a visitor. He was a protector, a friend, and a symbol of courage. And for the first time, he understood that bravery was not only about fighting battles, it was about standing beside those who could not protect themselves, no matter the cost. And so, life continued in the palace. Ethan trained, learned, and protected. Lyra grew stronger each day, her trust in him growing as well. And the whispers of danger and envy continued, reminding him that his journey in this alien world had only just begun. Together, they were building a connection that would shape the future of two worlds.